how much research and preparation do you do for the Q&As? It seems like a lot of content to have to prepare for on such a regular basis. You are correct. It is a lot. And I actually kind of sat down and really thought through the whole process. And this is the 75th one now that we've done over a year and a half. So it has been a bit of a process change from the beginning, but I'm going to explain the process as it is now, because that's what it is now, and it'll be moving forward. Back in the day, it wasn't as time involved and stuff like that, and I was doing a lot of it myself, or I would do a lot of the components myself. I have more of the team involved now, so I'll go ahead and share you what my modern process is, and this has been for the last 5 or 6 weeks. So it's definitely probably more effort than you might think. I don't know how much effort you really think it is. The actual research and product knowledge is actually not as much of the work as you might think. Part of it is just my brain has so much pen stuff in it, then a lot of it is just oh yeah, I can answer that very easily. Or it's oh, I don't know the answer to that, but I could find out in 5 minutes because I just know everywhere to look online for certain pen knowledge. So it's if I don't know it, I know who will know it or how to find it on Fountain Pen Network or certain bloggers or whatever. Just Googling certain phrases I know will bring me to exactly what I want. So that is definitely, I'm reaping what I've sowed over the last 6 years of being completely and 100% immersed in fountain pens. So that said, the first thing that we do is we start out and we post asking for questions on Twitter and Facebook, and then we always have kind of just standing out there on YouTube and on the blog. Anytime there's questions, we'll go back and look at the previous week's Q&A to see if there's any questions that have come up through the comments there, but we specifically solicit for questions on on Facebook and on Twitter on Monday. It used to be Tuesday. We're moving more towards Monday now just to give you more time to ask your questions, and that just tends to work a little bit better for us. That doesn't take long, just a few minutes to actually post that. As questions are coming in, Madigan manages our Twitter account and Margaret is on our Facebook account. So the two of them are both monitoring those questions and they're compiling them. We've got a Google Doc that we all share, and so they're both compiling them into a format that is something that we can use and kind of turn into the questions here. So things like who posted the question, what is the question, what's the general category of it, have we answered it before, that kind of thing. So we've got this big running spreadsheet of all these questions, and that it really varies depending on how many questions there are, but it's probably a couple hours or so that it takes to actually compile all of those, and it's they kind of check in periodically and just add them as questions come in. And then Margaret and I sit down and go through, usually on Wednesday afternoon. We might be moving it a little sooner because I shoot the Q&As on Thursday mornings. So it's more Wednesday afternoon that we've been going through and kind of selecting the questions. I used to just select the questions completely on my own, but now that I have more help on my media team, I want to respond to people whose questions I'm not going to answer. I personally haven't been able to go back and do it myself, but I've been working with Margaret. She's great. Just because a lot of the questions come through Facebook, that's why I do it with Margaret. But Madigan will go back on Twitter too and respond to you as well. We'll go through and kind of choose the questions, and I'll think through I know this question, but I feel like I've answered it. I'm if I haven't answered it in the last several months, I don't really sweat it. We've got 75 Q&As now. And there's over 1,000 questions that we've answered. So it's really, I say we, I'm the only one sitting here in this room, but as far as choosing the questions goes, it's really kind of based on the quality of the question, how confident and competent I feel I am at answering the question at that point in time, whether or not there's a lot of other confusion around certain things. If there's a question about stuff that's been going on recently or certain products that have recently been released, I'll try to pick more timely, relevant stuff. But there's also really good just timeless questions that I like to take too. So it's really kind of just a gut feeling that I have to go through and pick certain questions. And I'm working with Margaret, and she's kind of starting to get, I'm getting in her head a little bit about the kinds of questions that I would generally pick and generally not. If something is super specific and detailed and it would take me 2 minutes to read the question, I'm not going to choose that one. Or if it's something that's so open and generic, how do I get my pen to write better? It's there's 50 ways I can answer that question. You know, I'm not going to take something that general. So I try to take stuff that's specific enough, but broadly applicable. So there is kind of a fine balance there. So usually we end up with, 20 questions or so that have been vetted, and so Margaret and I sit down, I'll be like, hey, Margaret, can you go respond to this person? Here's the answer. Go back, and she'll take, because it takes a couple hours to go back and do all that stuff that I just don't have right now. So she'll go back through and answer your questions on Facebook or whatever, and the things that I'm not going to answer in the Q&A. But if we are going to answer in the Q&A, we flag them as ones that we are going to answer, and then we have to copy them out of that document and format them into my program here that we prepare for the blog. Once that's done, once the questions have been chosen, I kind of put them into different categories. And then, going through all that takes us about 30 minutes to read through. We usually end up with between 40 and 50 questions each week. So reading through all those and deciding which ones we answer and which ones don't takes about half an hour if we were really focused and rocking and rolling on it. And then, we'll get Jenni or Madigan to kind of weigh in specifically if we're on the fence about a certain question. We'll be like, have we done this one before? Do you remember, Jenni? And, so we'll kind of get everybody in on it if we need to. And then, once we selected, formatting it takes, probably about 30 minutes, literally just to format it with the whole, because, we got to choose your name, and then, if it's on Facebook, we don't want to use full names because you might not have a public account, so let's do first name, last initial. That's why we do it that way, for kind of privacy reasons. And then we will, at that point, that's pretty much like Wednesday. And then, as it is right now, I spend my Wednesday night, every night, for about 2 hours going through and bullet pointing answers to all of the questions. I could just wing it, honestly, for most of these, but I would end up speaking so generally that I wouldn't feel that it would be as effective because a lot of the questions I am answering can be pretty specific and have a lot of products that need to be said. And honestly, that stuff needs to be written down anyway, so I might as well write it down as I'm composing my thoughts, and then I can reference my notes in the video. So really a lot of it just kind of comes out of my head. There might be certain things where it's if I'm getting questions about what ink will match best to this, I'm like, oh geez, I've got some ideas, but let me go pull up the swab shop and I'll take a look and be like, oh yeah, that's right, these ones, bam, I'll write them down, and then we'll be in good shape. So then after that, once I've gone through, it takes me about 2 hours probably to go through all the questions and really think through. At that point, I probably narrowed it down to about 14, 15 questions or so for that week that I'm gonna go with for sure. They're all categorized, and I'm like, all right, I'm doing these ones. And then I'll kind of go through, I'll think through okay, are there any products that I would want to pull to show in the video? How am I going to answer all these questions? What products do I need to link to? That kind of thing. And I'll kind of think through all that. And then Thursday morning, I'll finish prepping and preparing if I need to. Jenni will help me set up the lights and format the camera, and do all the staging and stuff. And then I shoot it, which takes usually about an hour. And then Jenni, after I shoot it, I give the card to Jenni. She'll upload, edit it, and get it on YouTube. And then Madigan will go on the blog and help to hyperlink to all of the products that are mentioned, which is pretty straightforward at that point because I've already bullet pointed out every product that I'm planning on shouting out to. So she'll go through and just link everything up. And then either Madigan or Mike or I will write a short description, as an intro for the podcast, for the YouTube, and then linking up meta tags on the blog and YouTube and all these different little components that all of us on the team will do at various points in time. And all that stuff takes probably an hour or two of different people's time. And then Thursday, that's kind of all happening on Thursday afternoon after it's been shot, and it's really locked in as to what we're doing. Then Friday morning, Jenni, Mike, Madigan, and Margaret are all kind of cleaning up the blog, working on the copy, getting everything polished, getting everything ready to be published, which we do, midday on Friday. We shoot for lunchtime on Friday Eastern time. So when all is said and done, it's roughly, probably 12 to 14 hours of everybody's time to do a single Q&A. So an hour-long Q&A takes about 12 to 14 hours, and that's a really rough estimate, but that's what it takes to make this magic happen. Even with all the product knowledge that I've amassed and the experience that I have doing it, that's what it takes. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you appreciate it. We love doing it, and it really helps to keep us kind of on a regular pattern, and I know it's something that a lot of you have worked into your like regular routine, which is why I hate canceling it like I had to last week when I was sick, just because I know how regular it is for a lot of you. But you know, I've really come to enjoy it. I have no plans to stop doing it. It's something that I greatly just enjoy for myself. It keeps me fresh, keeps me involved. I get to just kind of like spout off a lot of things I know. It keeps me in the research as well, so I really enjoy it. So that is my not so brief answer about how a Q&A is published.